And we welcome in the Duke football coach, Manny Diaz, joining us now on SportsCenter. Hey, Manny, this is a great game on paper. You look at it, really interesting between your team at 6-2 and this undefeated Miami team. It has different layers, obviously, as it's your first game back since you were the Canes coach. What are the emotions for you? I know you grew up there. You're seeing some players you recruited and maybe coached. What is this going to be like for you?
It's going to be like a battle of two great teams. I spend a lot more time thinking about our players than I do thinking about me. I'm sure there'll be some familiar faces tomorrow, just like there were last week when we played SMU. There was a lot of former Canes on that team and on that staff. But I'm concerned about our players. They've got a good season going, and we've got a great challenge tomorrow. And our focus as a staff has been, just trying to solve the problems that Miami presents.
They do present a lot of problems. We're going to get into all of that. What was your message to the team going into this? Is a huge game for your program, obviously going down to Miami against an undefeated squad. What did you tell your guys?
Well, when you play in, as you mentioned, huge games or whatever, it still comes down to doing simple well and trying to be the best version of us. We did a lot of things that could have gotten us to a victory last week, but we ultimately did enough things that enabled us to get beat. So being honest with ourselves, trying to correct the things that we didn't do well enough last week, and just play better than we did a week ago. It's a great challenge, but like any coach will tell you, our primary focus is on just us and finding a way to play a better game than we did a week ago.
There are some obvious parallels between you and Mario Cristobal. Both you guys are from Miami, Cuban American. How far back do you go, and what's your relationship like with Mario?
Just through the sort of the branch of how you go off in your career, you don't really get to control where you work. We've never really crossed paths very many times. Certainly has been very successful everywhere he's been, and it's taking a lot of pride in what's going on there right now. So, but we've never really been in a place where we've worked together, gone against each other a few times, but it's certainly been a while even for that.
He notably is an offensive coach. You are a defensive coach. Interesting matchup between the two of you. They have an unbelievable offense, but your defense has been pretty nasty this year as well. What stands out to you about your bunch?
Our guys, well, they're very coachable. They're very diligent. They want to do it exactly the way that you explain it to them. They anticipate well, but all of that is nothing without their sheer effort. They play extraordinarily hard. They're very tough. They're very physical. They run the ball and they tackle. And if you do those things, you've got a chance to play really good defense. This will by far be their biggest challenge in terms of the talent of an offense that they've gone against. But we hope that we're also their biggest challenge. And as you mentioned, it should be a great matchup. They've got players that are doing things that have not been done in a long time.
Your defense top 15 in the country, which is saying something. Last year at Penn State, you were the DC there. They were number 2 in the nation. It's no coincidence here, Manny. You're doing something right. What is your defensive philosophy, and how do you get you guys to play so well?
Well, there's two things we're trying to do at once. We're trying to create negative plays, tackle for loss, sacks, create turnovers. Those are things that affect winning, affect games. But at the same time, we're also trying to limit explosive plays. And that's what makes this the greatest challenge we've had so far. Number one, they do a great job of limiting negative plays, but two, their ability to create explosives because of either the plays that they call, the talent that they have, or how Cam Ward can improvise and extend plays has been a challenge for everyone they've played so far this year. So our guys are competitors, so they're excited. They're looking forward to it.
Cam Ward, right there in the Heisman race, one of the top players in the land. What do you look at, and how do you try to contain a guy like that when he can do so many things on the field?
Yeah, well, no one has come close to containing him so far. Anytime you play anybody, you have to take away the quarterback's best friend, which is the run game. They've got a stable of very talented backs that run behind a massive offensive line. That is, again, easier said than done. And when you say try to contain a guy, like it's the explosive plays, the backbreakers in the games that they've won, where they've had to come from behind, for example, have just been massive plays, 70-yard passes, 50-yard touchdown passes, things like that. If you don't make them earn it, and if you don't make them, if you don't contest everything that's being thrown down the field, you sit there and give this guy open windows to throw the ball, you're going to see a lot of completions, and that's what's been the case so far this season.
Listen, it's definitely a tall task. You guys are 3 touchdown underdogs, but what would it mean to your program if you go down there and win this game?
It'd be exciting for our guys. I mean, again, we try not to talk a lot about opponent. We try to talk about our performance. And we believe that if we perform to our standard, the opponent doesn't really matter. We also believe that if we do not perform to our standard, we can get beat by anybody. So, that keeps us in control. And it doesn't make us have to depend on somebody else either not playing well or whatever. So I think that would be justification that we believe that our best is good enough. And that's where the trust and, as I mentioned, the control comes into play. It's
a great matchup. There are great storylines everywhere you look. Manny Diaz, good enough to share some time with us on the eve of this big game, which kicks off at noon tomorrow. Manny, we do appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.